Moving right along with the show, talking some more running back rankings in this segment now. We find ourselves in the NFC East this time, talking about the Eagles, the Cowboys, and also the Commanders and the Giants this week. To cap off this week and recap some of the running back rankings we've had, this one was a pretty much a division that had a lot of change. I had a lot of back and forth with who fit in where, and I finally came to a decision that might surprise a lot of people, I think. But without further ado, we will start at number 4 with the New York Giants. This one, maybe not a surprise to a lot of people, but if you look at the New York Giants situation and how we really got to this point with them, how did we get from Saquon Barkley, drafting him so early in that draft and having him for an extended period of time and not offering him a contract at the end of the day in free agency is really just beyond me with how the Giants, handled that entire situation. But now they enter this new era with Devin Singletary on your left and Eric Gray on your right. Last year, as a team, the Giants finished 16th in both yards per game at 110 and 16th in total yards per game at 1,874. These stats were with Saquon, obviously, who produced a 962-yard season, 6 touchdowns on 247 carries just for Saquon Barkley. Very much the engine and the catalyst, not just behind the running game, but behind the entire offense and making it somewhat of a threat. What's interesting about the Giants' rushing offense last year was that obviously Saquon was the leader, was the stat leader in a lot of categories, but also the next 3 rushers after Saquon in these stats were 3 of their quarterbacks from last year: Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and Danny DeVito. Not Danny DeVito. I'm forgetting his first name. I'm forgetting DeVito's first name. But regardless of that, he won over 200. They all ran just above 200 yards as individuals for the New York Giants. Then now you have Devin Singletary coming in as the number 1 running back in 2023. He produced 898 yards, 4 touchdowns as the running back for the Houston Texans, and not the greatest stats. If you compare to Saquon, it's not too far, but going beyond stats, obviously no one is going to compare Devin Singletary to Saquon in terms of talent. Obviously, Saquon will take it there. The stats are similar just because of the situation that Saquon and Devin Singletary found themselves in last year. And then you have Eric Gray, who was a rookie last year, barely played, but has gotten a lot of praise so far through this offseason in mandatory minicamps and voluntary workouts. So he's an interesting piece. I think he's somebody that you can build off of, but it's really no secret how much the drop-off is there with the New York Giants, just from going from Saquon and the talent that he brought you now to Devin Singletary, who I don't want to make it out to seem like I'm trashing Devin Singletary. He is a solid running back, but the situation with the Giants just isn't great. If Saquon was your best rusher and your next 3 were the 3 quarterbacks that you had quarterbacking your team last year, that just doesn't make too much sense from the rushing game. And the Giants find themselves in a weird spot how they all handle this situation with the running backs in 2024 and how does it affect their offense will be something to keep watch all year, really. But they're the number 4 ranked team. And at number 3, we have the Dallas Cowboys, another team that had a big drop-off or a major departure this offseason. They let go of Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard was a huge contributor to that offense, obviously with over 1,000 yards. But the next highest rusher after that was actually Rico Dowdle, who is in the middle of your screen there, but he only had 361 rushing yards last year as a team, about middle of the pack, about 14th ranked in yards per game and total yards as a team. Now with Ezekiel Elliott coming back, you have Rico Dowdle, like I mentioned, and Royce Freeman coming in. They've already embraced the running back committee approach this year. Mike McCarthy has said that. Stephen Jones has said it. Jerry Jones has said it also. They're embracing it, but even still, with having these 3 guys as your main ball carriers, my questions are still who will give you the best production, who will give you the highest quality of the running game out of all 3 of these options. Zeke Dowdle and Royce Freeman, I don't think too many people will make the argument at all, even if any of them could potentially be number one ranked running backs. Zeke was that running back. He was that workhorse, but now, with that bad period that he had in New England, how is he going to come back into this situation in a running back by committee, which I guess will suit him a little bit better, but at the same time, it isn't like it was before. The Cowboys don't have the depth and the options that they did before. Obviously, you still hope to keep CD. Dak is still there, but the offensive line has its issues, and Zeke, again, just has fallen off a little bit, in my opinion. That's why I can't rank the Cowboys higher than number 3 in my rankings. So at number 2, obviously for some people that would probably be the Washington Commanders, because it would have been a massive surprise if they weren't the number 2 team and instead the number 1. But regardless, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, why I have more confidence in them and why I have a better feeling about them is because just of the fact that I think there's still more in the tank from them. I think there's still a little bit more there that they could get out of their time here with the Washington Commanders. Last year, in saying that, it was only really Brian Robinson there on your left, and they ranked towards the bottom of the rankings in the statistics, 27th in both yards per game at only 93, and total yards per game at just above 1,500 rushing yards, mostly again just by Brian Robinson. Robinson is going into his 3rd year in the NFL and has stayed at the same level pretty much, but I don't think that has to do so much with him rather than the team being in a weird spot, transitioning from a lot of quarterbacks, a lot different head coaches, really with Ron Rivera, but not getting the best out of this team that he could have. Now you're really making a massive transition to Jaden Daniels, a new owner, new offensive coordinator, new head coach. There's a lot of brand newness that I think has a lot of people excited. It certainly has my intrigue just because this offseason in free agency, they did a lot of good things, a lot of good incorporations that I think will help them. And Austin Eckler was also part of that. Not only is he valuable because of his talent, and I know he had not the level of season that he usually has for the reputation that he has built up as Austin Eckler, but I think that situation with the Chargers, again, wasn't so much on him as much as it was the team with Brandon Staley. Not too much offensive firepower to go off of and really build the run game through. Now with the Commanders, he doesn't have to be the main source of offense, the main source of rushing yards. That will mostly be Brian Robinson. And I think they have a solid thing going for them again. And just compared to the Giants and the Cowboys, I have a little bit more confidence in them just because they're in my opinion, the only other team besides the Eagles that got better in this division. I can't say the Giants got better, and I can't say the Cowboys got better because of all the uncertainties that they're facing in 2024, which means, like most of you would have guessed, the Philadelphia Eagles are number 1. How could you stop Saquon and Jalen? Just the sight of them back there will create just an endless amount of problems for opposing defenses. Saquon on his own was able to carry that Giants offense, and now being in an offense filled with stars wherever you look, in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts also out of the backfield specifically, it won't be a surprise if this team probably leads the NFL in rushing yards or will give the Baltimore Ravens a run for their money. And also, not to just leave him out, Kenneth Gainwell as well is solid depth there at that position for the Philadelphia Eagles, and also Will Shipley, the rookie running back that they drafted this year. A lot of people are talking very highly of him, so he'll be another piece to just add to the endless amount of options that the Eagles have at their disposal. Already finished 8th in both yards per game at 128 and total yards as a group at just over 2,000 yards. They still have that great O-line there in Philadelphia. And the only downside of this entire situation could be injuries, but you can't really do too much about that. So the Eagles find themselves in a very favorable spot to rebound from last year and potentially make a comeback in the playoffs and maybe a return to the Super Bowl. I don't think I'm quite there yet to make that prediction, but they're definitely making a good case for it. They're the number 1 ranked team in the NFC based on their running back group. Let me know what you guys think of the list. and the order of how I have it, the reasonings I gave behind it, and also be able to provide your reasons in the comment section afterwards. If you agree or disagree, leave it all down there as well. But we do have one more segment to get to when we return after this break. Nathaniel Hackett, where does he stand as the play caller for the New York Jets? Do they have confidence in him, as much confidence as they say? Their actions might say otherwise. Stay tuned to find out what I mean by that. You're listening to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast.